Right, good afternoon, folks. That's Facebook on board. A wee surprise broadcast with Davey, and we'll get to what I'll put in the description why I'm on. So, before we start, let's get this out the road. It's Indie Truck Davey out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it's a beautiful day, 12 degrees, warming up nicely. Now, what brings Davey to your screens today? Well, I spent the morning with young Reagan Elite on the Snowflake channel, where he played back the leaders' debate last night. And there was a debate in the chat and things like that, but I was paying more attention to the debates, the leaders' debate. And I have to say, it was fascinating stuff. As you know, I don't watch a television. So if it wasn't for guys like Reagan Elite covering these two debates, the head-to-head with Sunak and Starmer, and the leaders' debates last night. Now, what I found with both sets of debates was they were very English-centric. And a lot of what they were talking about didn't apply to Scotland. I don't know how much it didn't apply to Wales. I thought Stephen Flynn did well. I thought the Lassie for the Greens did well. I thought the Lib Dem one for the Lib Dems did well. And I thought the boy for Wales did extremely well. People think he didn't do well. He did. He stuck to his brief. He kept it centred on Wales. So I thought the boy was good. I thought Penny Mordaunt was dreadful. And I thought Angela Rayner was a disgrace. Especially the waffle at the end about no increasing taxes on the working classes. Believe me, the Labour Party have been taken over by corporate interests. The unions are abandoning the Labour Party left, right and centre. Starmer needs funding for somewhere. So he's taking it from where the Tories used to get it. Because a lot of people don't agree. People think that Starmer's moved Labour to the centre. Starmer didn't move Labour to the centre. Tony Blair moved Labour to the centre. And I think the wee lassie for the Greens said it perfectly. And that was that Starmer has changed the Labour Party. He's changed the Labour Party into traditional One Nation Tories. Just slightly less extremely to the right than the Conservatives. But in our spiel at the end, they were picking up this GB energy stuff. So I want to make this clear for people who don't understand what's happening. GB Energy isn't an energy company. It's a lie. GB Energy will not bring hundreds of thousands of jobs to Scotland like Miss Rayner claimed. That's a lie. GB Energy will be an investment vehicle. Mr. Starmer said he's going to borrow £8 billion and set up an investment vehicle called GB Energy. GB Energy will produce no energy, and there'll be very little return, if any, to the taxpayer. And it certainly won't lower our bills, because the projects that GB Energy invest in will be selling to the big six, who will be selling to us. And they ain't discounting it. They're making record profits. When we talk about inflation, it wasn't wage demands that drove inflation. It was corporate greed and profiteering. It's still happening. My bill's still 220. My electricity bill's still 200% higher than what it was in 2020. Now, to understand what Mr. Starmer's been talking about with GB Energy, I've had a good look. He's talking about putting in 1% stake in any projects going forward, and then reaping the dividend from that one part state when the energy projects go live on the grid. There's one big flaw in Starmer's scheme, which nobody's pointing out. So let me make it clear, because he stated it himself. He's keeping the levy on green energy, the windfall tax. So therefore, the one part state that he's talking about being invested by the taxpayer is to encourage the private sector to build an infrastructure which will be non-profit making for the government, because the one part stake will just be payment to cover the green energy levy, the windfall tax. People are not listening carefully to what's being said. Now, to get back to GB energy being a wheeze, a scam, it's an investment vehicle, a bit like the Scottish National Investment Bank. The Scottish National Investment Bank handles billions of pounds too. There are 51 employees at the Scottish National Investment Bank, direct employees, and a couple of hundred when it comes to supplying that 51, keeping their offices going, keeping the building maintained, catering, technical services, that sort of thing. So 8 billion quid in a green investment bank, let's call it what it is, a green investment bank. Maybe on a par in size with the Scottish National Investment Bank. So what they're looking at, 51 employees and a couple of hundred people to facilitate their needs in a wee building in Aberdeen. Now, the hundreds of thousands of jobs they're talking about is in producing the technology that's needed to supply that energy. But we don't have the steel. And although we have the technology, we don't have anybody interested in investing. Why don't we have anybody interested in investing? Because the UK is a small market. They want access to a worldwide market. So nobody's coming here to build turbines. And maybe we'll get some crumbs for the table when it comes to the infrastructure building of GB Energy, when it comes to producing the foods and the tower for the turbine to sit in Tappy. Not bad. And there's no hundreds of thousands of jobs in them. And just like you understand, once a wind farm's up, it takes 4 or 5 people to maintain it. Unless it's really massive. This is bollocks. People are being misled. And Angela Rayner on her summit last night was a disgrace. And what was interesting was there was no heart in what she was saying, because she didn't believe it herself. The truth is, there is no change coming. None. All this about it's time for change, it's time for change. There is no change coming. But the dishonesty of the Labour Party over GB Energy is galling. Mr. Starmer said it himself, it's an investment vehicle. It's not really an energy company. And it's certainly not going to produce energy. And it's not going to produce hundreds of thousands of jobs here in Scotland. That's a lie. And I've just told you why it's a lie. Because the Scottish Investment Bank is just as big as the proposed investment vehicle that Mr. Starmer is calling GB Energy. And that only employs 51 direct people. And as I say, we've got Brexit. We've no access to the wider European market. Therefore, nobody's coming here to build turbines. Even if we did have the raw materials to produce them. They're just not coming here to do it. They can't export for here. That's the end of it. The man lied. Angela Rayner lied. The Labour Party are lying. And it's galling. Absolutely galling. Now, notice they also try to brush aside the 18 billion in baked-in tax cuts that the Tory party have already initiated. You don't understand where that 18 billion baked-in cuts are coming from. We had two national insurance cuts at 2% a pot, taking 9 billion quid a time out of the revenues that went to the Treasury. So that's an 18 billion quid black hole in the finances that's baked in, because Labour aren't going to reverse the national insurance cuts. That would be political suicide. Labour are only going to get one term in government here, folks, because they ain't going to be able to initiate any fecking change. They've said they won't tax the rich. They said they won't tax us. That means one thing: cuts and efficiencies, as they like to call it. And they cuts will go right across borders, because they cuts will affect how Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland are financed. So GB Energy's a wheeze. Granny will still be fucking freezing in her hovel this Christmas in the midst of winter. And Ma and Pa will still be struggling to feed the kids while skipping fucking meals trying to pay the lecky bill or the mortgage. You want change, people of England. You want to shake up your political system. There's a record number of independents storming down that road. And there's always the Greens and the Lib Dems as an alternative. You want to put a rocket up the two parties' arses and get them back away from being owned by corporate interests and a political elite. Vote independent down that road. Shake it up. And I mean shake it up. Don't give them their way. Can he handle the local independent vote? Vote Green. Vote Lib Dem. Take away their massive majorities and their two-party homogeny. Here in Scotland, vote SNP. Because as far as I can see, there is no will in England to change the system. There is no alternative to the two-party homogeny down that road. We've seen the presidential style debates. We have seen the disgrace to democracy that is the TV debates. Two parties been given the limelight, basically telling everybody else who's running for election you're wasting your fucking time, and know every party who's putting up candidates being represented. Now, as you know, here in Scotland, they did the same thing with the leaders' debate. They excluded the Green Party, they excluded the Alpha Party, and they excluded anybody else who was putting up candidates. A bloody disgrace. These debates skew democracy. So they need to excuse that flutter, there's a bird just flew by the window. So that's what my message here to you is today. That the Labour Party are misleading you. And GB Energy isn't going to bring hundreds of thousands of jobs to Scotland. It's a lie. It's an investment vehicle, nothing else. And the one-part stake that the UK government or Starmer's putting up, it's just to get them to build, because they're saying it's not profitable to build because of the green fucking levy. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. These debates, really, they're a disgrace, an abomination. Say, spent one with Young Reagan Elite. His channel's quite good, folks. Have a look at the Snowflake channel. And Daily Blasé's channel. And Max Millen Ropes' channel. Truth to Power. Michael Lambert's channel. These guys have all got clearer views. Much clearer views. But there is no change coming. And the dishonesty of both these parties and the skewing of democracy by the mainstream media is a bloody disgrace. Anyway, that's what I've got to say today. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day.